Partnered by Times Influence.
In 2017, MSC Software Corporation had reached an agreement to be acquired by Hexagon AB, following which MSC continues to run as an independent business unit within Hexagon's Manufacturing Intelligence (MI) division. MI's main businesses are in the automotive, aerospace, machinery, consumer electronics and other discrete manufacturing markets, and is increasingly focused on offering end-to-end solutions in these workflows. In an exclusive interview with ET Now, Paolo Guglielmini, EVP Business Development, Hexagon Manufacturing Intelligence and President and CEO, MSC Software, along with Sridhar Dharmarajan, Managing Director, Indo-Pacific Region, MSC Software, discussed the future of simulation industry in India and why Hexagon chose MSC into its family.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we have a very interesting team over here. Nuclear scientist from CERN, who eventually became a business and strategy analyst, and then the CEO of simulation industry company. So welcome. And on the other hand, we have the technologist from IISc. His passion in sales and consulting has made him an expert in simulation across the Indo-Pacific region. So welcome, gentlemen. Tell us more about MSC and its presence in the Indo-Pacific region.
See, MSC software, if you take any part, any component, it's got a form and a function. So we actually take care of the functional aspect of the component. How will the component perform? How will the component, what's the component life? How is it durable? How does it fail? So we take care of the performance characteristic of the component, and we've been around for 55 years now. MSC started in 1963, and the first company to really help NASA to send a man to the moon. So we have played a role from sending man to the moon to the new Curiosity mission, where we send the Curiosity to the Mars. And this knowledge we have also used in the Indian space industry, where we have helped the Chandrayaan mission and a lot of other launches in the Indian space industry to really be there. So in addition to the aerospace industry, we also play a key role in the automotive industry. We are there right from the concept stage to the delivery stage, and with Hexagon, as part of the Hexagon family, our portfolio is actually kind of enhanced.
Great. It's interesting that you mentioned Hexagon. So I'll ask Paolo to basically, Hexagon is a very large and complex group, right? So if you can just explain the structure of the group.
Sure. I mean, Hexagon is a Swedish-owned group, publicly listed on the Stockholm Nasdaq. 19,000 people, roughly 3.5 billion euros in sales. Very technology-oriented. We deliver productivity solutions as a combination of software and sensors for a variety of industries and verticals. Hexagon has a variety of divisions that look after our business in these various verticals. And I'm here in representation of Hexagon Manufacturing Intelligence. We are very, very excited to join forces with MSC Software. I mean, MSC has been pioneering great analysis, engineering, and simulation solutions. For the last 15 years, has been extremely active and ingrained and really participating in some of the most exciting programs when it comes to the design of phenomenal cars and planes and others. And we think that there's something very unique that we can achieve as a result of the two companies joining forces.
During my research about Hexagon, right, I came across a term called Hexagon Digital Thread. Sure. Right? So if you can please explain what is that?
I mean, imagine that you want to solve problems as a combination of your real and virtual world software and sensor technologies.
Right.
It's great to be able to deliver productivity, to do it in a seamless way. You have to be able to blend these technologies, automate them and connect them so that actually they're going to be productized and usable. They can be deployed in a seamless way. So digital thread is nothing but an expansive strategy to make sure that we can connect, automate, orchestrate, report, analyze in a way that generates high benefits in a fairly seamless and accessible way.
All right. You really put it simple.
Just to add to Paolo, the Hexagon Manufacturing Intelligence has three major software companies and the hardware company. So one, we have MSC Software, which essentially designs quality. Then one, we have Vero software, which manufactures quality. Then the metrology aspects of the Hexagon Manufacturing Division measures quality. So if you are able to connect all these three technologies with the digital thread, how do we ensure that the designed quality, the manufactured quality, and the measured quality are one and the same? I think it's a very unique value that Hexagon as a group gets to the customer.
Right, right. And it's interesting that you mentioned that, because, it leads me to my next question, which is about how does MSC fit into the Hexagon, digital thread?
MSC is actually designing quality. So we actually kind of help customers to predict how the part actually behaves before you actually make a prototype. So objective of MSC, the vision of MSC is always to eliminate test. So eliminate making prototype, but vision always remains vision, because the products are getting more and more complex. And if you are able to eliminate some test, you may need to do some new test. Because today the products are, it's just not a mechanical component, it's electronics and there is software involved in it. So the whole idea is you don't really completely eliminate tests, but you reduce the number of tests and you're able to predict the performance of the particular component in digital world before the real world.
So, keeping the product lineup in mind, what's in store for the coming years?
Oh, exciting. A lot of exciting stuff. So if you look at, there's a huge disruption happening in the automotive industry today with the autonomous vehicles really coming up. Till now, we were only looking at designing the performance of the vehicle. How good will the vehicle be? How good will be the ride and handling? How good will be the NEH characteristics? What's the life of the part? Today, we actually want to design the guy who's driving the car. Because in the autonomous car, you want to actually kind of predict how the person, which is a driverless vehicle, will behave in different scenarios. So we need to really kind of start simulating billions and billions of scenarios. So you build the whole external environment and you take the car, and then the car has to take decisions at faster than real time as to what it should do. Now you have the school bus coming in, you have this police van coming in, and you have this cars racing by. So you need to start creating those simulations. It's a huge amount of simulation. It's a big data that kind of gets generated. So we are actually extending this part to really do faster than real-time simulations and predict what should be the performance and how the car should actually behave in various scenarios. The second major exciting thing is additive manufacturing. Nobody would have thought about 10 years ago, can additive manufacturing be the mass production environment? Because we are always working in subtraction manufacturing. So we used to do milling and boring and remove the material from the block, steel block that is there. And today we are saying, can we really add the materials and create a part? And with this 3D printing machines coming up, and we have a technology to kind of simulate the additive manufacturing aspect and actually kind of deliver. First time right in the additive manufacturing space as well. And with additive manufacturing, you can actually create complex parts which cannot be manufactured in a traditional environment.
So, it's interesting that you mentioned about autonomous vehicles, right? And my question is to both of you, right? Considering the traffic conditions in India, right? How do you see this as a challenge, and where does India stand right now?
I think what we're trying to build is a set of technologies and an ecosystem that can be deployed in a lot of autonomous conditions. Yeah, whether you're talking about an autonomous asset in an agriculture environment, whether you're talking about a mine moving assets and vehicles in an aerospace environment. So I think a lot of us, when we talk about autonomous, really visualize the toughest possible scenario, which is an urban scenario in which you have disruption and interactions and scenarios that are extremely complex. In reality, when you look at the benefit side of autonomous, a lot of the highly beneficial scenarios are really outside of an urban per se scenario. When you talk about long distance traveling, when you talk about highway transportation, when you talk about trucks, and when you talk about environments in which the autonomy and the automation of processes can really generate a straightforward, large financial benefit.
Right. It's interesting because you are looking at a long-term kind of a vision, right? Because it's not only in the cities; it's the actual benefit is outside the cities. Do you agree with that, right?
Yeah, actually, in autonomous there are 5 levels of autonomous. So it all depends on what's the level of autonomy India is ready for.
Right.
So maybe India is ready for active safety. Can we really go to completely level 5 autonomy? I'm not too sure, but that would be the goal. Maybe we can achieve level 5 autonomy in the airports, where some of these driverless cars may be much safer than the tractors and the other things which are going and hitting the wings of the aircrafts today, and we've seen many news reports in that direction. So airports, maybe in some of this controlled environment, maybe we can have a higher level of autonomous cars, autonomous vehicles rather. But in a urban situation with the traffic conditions, maybe active safety ADAS kind of application is the level that we can actually go to. It's a little more complex because the situations in India, we have to kind of simulate for much more billions of scenarios. So we are actually having some faster than real-time technologies where we can simulate the performance of these autonomous cars, and which helps us to design and deliver those cars for the market.
And how is it like going beyond the urban, city-centric scenario, as Paolo just mentioned? What are the opportunities there?
A typical example of having large surfaces on which you really want to maximize yield. Yeah? And these large surfaces have to be monitored in terms of exposure to weather, in terms of productivity, in terms of their needs, in terms of either watering or these surfaces normally they are monitored through GPS technologies. When you look at new processes, back in the days you were completely reliant on expertise, the human eye in terms of what the needs are for these plantations. You were reliant on human experience when it comes to what is the right timing for harvesting your plantation. What you can do today is really much more smart in the sense that your asset can be remotely monitored, it can be autonomous, you can optimize and make the growth of plantations much more homogeneous. You can decide when is the right time to take action. So you look at a 3D environment that can be constantly monitored, and you're looking at a series of assets that can be remotely automated. Automation in terms of causal effect, that really improves your yield. Yeah? So we see this taking place certainly in the Americas, certainly in South America, and increasingly in India. So I think there are a lot of opportunities there. Mining being another example in which you really can maximize your financial benefit and improve the safety of your operations if you start relying on constant 3D monitoring of the space and the automation of the action and reaction by connecting to your assets.
One of the major stakeholders, if I may say so, in this entire machine learning and AI scenario are the consumers. So there are two parts of the question. One is for Sridhar. The first one about automobile and autonomous vehicles. How do you see the consumer coming up, and is it like really led by the demands of the consumers?
It's always the case. Yeah. Of course, there are certain times technology providers have to tell the consumers what can come.
Right.
Okay. Right. Many a times the consumers may only be able to think based on their previous experiences. They can only extrapolate as to what their previous experiences are. Right. And it's our responsibility to really tell them that these are possibilities which can actually happen. If you look at the autonomous space, either the AR or the VR space, it's our responsibility to tell them and help them to start thinking that if these are the possibilities, what he can do to really use them. So I'm very happy to note that many of these young engineers are able to visualize what should be their to-be state compared to what is their as-is state, and how can technology help them to go from the current state to the to-be state.
The experience economy really bubbling up across the globe, and actually having emerging countries that are adopting that experience economy even faster than the more mature economies. So the likes of Airbnb and Uber. Recently I was reading about a jewelry renting system and startup. Why would you want to invest and own in perpetuity an asset that is so valuable when actually you can experience it? So it's the experience economy that is married to phenomenal groundbreaking innovation from a technology standpoint.
How important segment of business is this for Hexagon?
I mean, we look at artificial intelligence and machine learning as an opportunity. Yeah, we are in the business of creating success for our customers. Yeah, so we look at machine learning and artificial intelligence as a mean to an end. Yeah, as one more tool in our toolbox that we can deploy successfully to create insights and make sure that we generate success, ultimately productivity for our customers. When it comes to the specifics of simulation, we use machine learning to make sure that you learn as much as possible from your past simulation runs so that you can really focus on what is more important to you in the future. When it comes to production environments, we use machine learning to make sure that you control your processes, and you can start predicting problems before they occur, to reduce scrap and waste.
Right.
And that is something we are looking forward to deploy in more and more verticals.
So let me give you an example in autonomous driving. So when you want to really predict how should the driverless car behave based on a situation, and you're trying to analyze, simulate billions of situations, so billions of external environment. So when you actually do that simulation, so you've got a lot of data. If this is the scenario, this is the way it should behave. If that is a scenario, this is the way it should behave. If all these things can be connected with machine learning and artificial intelligence, when it comes to a new scenario which is potentially not there, it can kind of take that data and take that knowledge which has been simulated for a similar set situation, and that it's got that learning, it's got that knowledge, and then it can actually make the correct behavior for a new scenario which potentially you might have not simulated. So the whole idea of machine learning and AI plays a very key role in autonomous mobility and autonomous cars.
How do you see India currently at the stage of engineering excellence in creating such products?
Very high. I would say in the last 20-25 years, the quality of engineers that are really coming out from the colleges are very high. And we are also trying to play a role in ensuring that some of these technologies are actually taught in the academic colleges and academic institutes so that they are better prepared for the industry.
Testament to that, I think, when you look at a company like Hexagon that has 19,000 employees across the globe, we have a 2,000 strong foothold in India. When you look at the level of focus that these engineers increasingly have had towards new trends and innovation rather than support. Yeah, when you look at the amount of innovation that has come out of our Indian operations, that is just groundbreaking.
And gentlemen, before we wrap up this session today, just wanted to touch upon some biggest trends in the AI and machine learning industry, right? That the industry and our viewers can basically take away for the coming year from both of you.
Machine learning and artificial intelligence will be fundamentally impactful every time that we have processes to automate and large data sets to tap into. It will become increasingly effective and felt in terms of the quality of the components that your viewers and customers can benefit and profit from. But I think also increasingly there's going to be an acceleration in the understanding of the needs of customers going forward. So I think that in terms of understanding how components get used, how to improve their performances, their feature sets, there's going to be an acceleration in terms of closing the loop between the need and the future needs of customers and the development cycle. I mean, the development cycle that we see in a lot of industries, be it consumer electronics or automotive, has been shrinking and shrinking and shrinking in terms of our capability to deliver.
Artificial intelligence as a concept actually was introduced many, many years ago. But it actually couldn't really take off in a product life cycle. It couldn't cross the chasm, as they say, at that point of time, and went to the chasm. One of the reasons is at that point of time, we didn't have so much of computing power available at a low cost. Today, we have huge computing power available at a low cost. And artificial intelligence actually can play a role only when you have big data. So today, you can generate a lot of data, even in a simulation world. You can simulate multiple scenarios, multiple directions, multiple points within the component. And we have so much of data, and artificial intelligence can be used to predict the performance of the part in a scenario that you might have not really kind of simulated. So I think the future is artificial intelligence and machine learning, and as Paolo said, we in Hexagon and MSC are investing heavily on it, and we'll actually see the outcome in the coming years where people will be able to use it in their product development process.
And here is all wishes for an autonomous future of India. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Partnered by Times Influence.